Mohommed Ali Shah with us on the broadcast to take us through his perspective of this report that has come out. Major Shah, earlier we were discussing Khalistani extremism, which has also been highlighted in this report. But another important aspect that has come out and has sent alarm bells is this forced conversion that is happening in UK prisons. What the author is noting is that if there are 15% Muslims in the general population of the city of London, somehow the male Muslim population in London prisons is about 30%. So he's wondering how exactly has this increased, how exactly is this jump taking place, and he believes that this could be a result of forced conversions, and these are the sort of people who represent some sort of an extremist ideology that believes that conversion is the way forward.
Well, I don't know if the numbers of the Muslims which are in the jail over there, is it because of forced conversion or not? That I can't be very sure of. But the very fact that there are so many Muslims there, obviously that they are over there, that side, who are indulging into crime. So that's for sure. And secondly, regarding the forced conversion, the concern, I think today, if Prophet Muhammad would have been alive, he would have been a very, very unhappy man to see that how people are trying to do their forced conversion. It's very, very unethical, wrong, and it's morally and principally very wrong. That is not the way. That's just not the way. And when such force, or it could be, I don't know, as this report said, if I think of it right now at this point of time, that how the numbers of Muslims, especially in the prisons, the percentage has increased. It could be, I don't know. But the very fact that these, as you brought out, that the Quran Sharif is kept on the bedside, I think, in fact, to put it in Urdu, wo Quran Sharif ki insult hai, by putting it next to it and by asking any prisoner over there to convert forcefully. No one can convert anyone's faith forcefully. You have to believe in a faith. That's why it's called faith. You have to have faith in it. You have to be convinced. You have to have that conviction in that superior power, whichever. It can be Ram, it can be Allah, it can be Guru Nanak, it can be Jesus Christ, it can be anything. As long as you have that faith, you have that conviction. No one, I mean, it is naam ke liye convert or get hurt. That is so ridiculous. It's like one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard, actually. So people who indulging in that, and I'm glad that you have got me on this show to speak to you, because I feel if Mohommed Ali Shah has to come forward and put in views across for whatever it's worth, for whatever 2 pennies it's worth, for people who would be listening and who would be actually getting influenced, because this is something which has to be addressed. It has to be addressed by the people from the Muslim community. They should come forward and tell the people who are indulging in forced conversion that that's a very wrong thing that they're doing. That gives a very wrong name to the entire religion, to the entire community. They should not do that at any cost. Now, the very fact when the forced conversions happen, I don't know. If you put somebody on gunpoint and say, get hurt or convert, and the guy says, okay, to save his skin, he says, okay, I'll convert. And he puts his name from Tom, from Cassius to Ali. This is an example I'm giving you. So now, whether he would believe in that faith or not, whether he would go ahead with it or not, it's a faith. Whereas if someone is genuinely convinced about anything, I'll give you an example. Like, my name is Mohommed Ali, right? I'm a boxer as well. So Cassius Clay converted to Islam. He became Mohommed Ali. But that is because he himself wanted to. That's a different thing altogether. But the moment you make it a forced conversion, and the moment you put on gunpoint and you say, hey, you jolly well convert or you get hurt, that is something which needs to be called out. It is the need of the hour. And that is the most ridiculous thing. In fact, the figure that you read out, initially, if you observed my reaction, I was not sure whether it was a result of forced conversion or not. But gradually, in a minute, while speaking, I realized, yes, it could be most certainly a matter of forced conversion, which is really, really unethical. And I think, once again, I reiterate the fact that had Prophet Muhammad been alive today, or had he been there, he would have been a very unhappy man to see these kind of extremists, these Islamists indulging in such kind of behavior.
Absolutely. And Major Shah, while when you point out that it's good that you are speaking on this channel, there's something to that effect that has been noted by the author in the report as well. Before we bring in Ambassador Goyal, let me just quickly read it out. It says, for a generation, policymakers and the media have almost singularly focused on the threat of Islamist extremism, and proportionally, it remains the largest threat. Of course, the overwhelming majority of British Muslims do not condone the values and behaviors of Islamist extremists. So the government must redouble its efforts to ensure mainstream and peaceful Muslims do not feel unfairly associated with Islamist extremists. The important distinction between Islam and Islamism must form part of faith literacy training for all staff on the public payroll, as recommended in one of the chapters of this report. So this is something, Major Shah, that the author is also taking note of, that when we put out these reports, when it talks about faith-based extremism and it talks about Islamist extremist gangs in UK prisons, or it also talks about a growing Khalistani movement, the author has been careful to note that this is not the view of the majority, and all of us as a society must act. The government has to do its bit, but it's also important for the rest of the people in society to actually come out and say once and for all, clear it out, that we do not condone this. Listen, this is not what we were taught. This is not our belief, and we will not allow these extremists to appropriate our culture, our faith. Major Shah.
Absolutely, 100% right. You know, when it's 3 years back, about 3.5 years rather, I would say, when on 14th February 2019, when the Pulwama attacks took place, and the dastardly and the most cowardly attacks, which go down in history, I would say. And I wrote an open letter to Jaish-e-Mohammed, the terrorist outfit, and mentioning about the fact that, what actually Islam preaches, and what the understanding of these terrorists, of these extremists, these radicals is actually, which is totally wrong. And I felt if Major Mohommed Ali Shah doesn't come forward and give them a bit of knowledge, who else will? And similarly, as you rightly brought out, the author in this book, when he has mentioned the percentage of the criminals over there, and the majority of them being from the Muslim faith, from the Islamic faith, it embarrasses us more than anything else. It actually was, I was feeling rather very, very embarrassed hearing this, because this is something which one ought to feel embarrassed about it. One ought to come, because I'm a very proud Muslim, but I'm even prouder to be an Indian. And I feel that, when we do not call out these shots, if people from the community do not come out and say, jo ho raha hai wo wahan pe, jo jahan pe hua wo galat hua, then who else will? So it's very important to come out and to say, in UK prisons, it's shocking, it's alarming, and this is not even India, where one can, where one section can say that no, ye ke Hindustan mein, nahi, Hindustan mein nahi hai, this is happening in UK. So it is something which is far-fetched from here. And it is something which actually needs to be curbed immediately with immediate effect. Otherwise, as you mentioned, the number of prisoners, especially from the Islamic faith, are increasing. They will otherwise increase furthermore. And then how has it happened? Again, there will be speculations and guesses that why is it because of the forced conversions, or what is the actual reason? So this, I would call it a criminal issue, and I would call it something right, which the law enforcement agencies must ensure that such a thing doesn't happen.
Absolutely. Major Shah, do you believe that this is jingoism on India's part?
Well, it may not be jingoism. I feel if the facts and figures and the numbers and data and statistics have been brought out, and it has been reported, and by a credible agency, it is something to look into, to do a certain kind of a self-introspection instead of contesting it and challenging it, and by trying to convince someone that is not the case, and that is people are being biased or whatever. Because see, one can lie in English, one can lie in Urdu, one can lie in Hindi, but on maths, figures, statistics, data will not lie. They will speak the facts as it is. So now if such facts have come about, it's about time to do a self-introspection and say, okay, though it was shocking for me. It's very easy for me, because it's shocking for me to say, no, I don't believe it. This is a wrong report. And who am I fooling? Who am I basically trying to fool in that? I would be fooling my own self by trying to make a world of disbelief, of saying that, no, I don't believe that. So rather, I should understand it, analyze it, do a self-introspection, and try educating people how much ever I can from my little bit of 2 pennies of wisdom that, listen, guys, this is what's happening in UK. So let's ensure that such a thing is curbed and it doesn't spread any further. So I would not call it jingoism only. I would from anywhere. I would not call it jingoism. I would rather say it's about time for people to wake up, especially the community. I would urge the Muslim community as well to please do a self-introspection and realize what is lacking, why, what is happening.
Right.
It's very easy to stand up and protest and disagree. It's very simple. That's a simple thing to do. But is that the solution? Will anything come out of those protests, of opposing it? No, one should actually sit back, introspect, realize, and then act upon it.
Right, absolutely, Major Shah. Thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast.